Hello everyone, this is part 8 of What If Naruto Learned of Hinata's Feelings, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Something is familiar about this area. If only I could remember. No time to remember. Keep following scent. Keep running. K them, why K them? Yeah. K them. Naruto ran after the faint scent of death and evil, coming ever closer to its source, still a fair distance away. His mind was clear, or more correctly, blank. His mind only contained one thought, to follow the scent and K anyone who got in his way and then K the source of the scent. Then he could, what will I do? No thinking now. Figure it out later, follow, then K. Naruto had been following the scent all night and most of the day, but at a much slower pace than he had done the past day. He no longer needed to run, his mind had no thoughts in it besides, follow, and K. He would find the one he wanted, though he had no idea or wanted any idea of why he wanted him, and then he would K him. Naruto continued on his path. Over the next hill he saw something very familiar. It was a town. Strange, it reminds me, find and K. The town was still a fair distance away, so it would take a while to reach it. Again, he found the trail and followed it. Chuan stood on the city gates with 3 Jonin elite and another cage. Kakashi Hatake stood reading his most recent novel, though his mind was far from the images in the book. It was on his former student, the next Hokage, and the demon he could sense coming closer to the village. Shikamaru stood with his hands in his pockets, tracking in his mind the path of his friend. Temari, with her large fan on her back, stood next to Shikamaru, waiting. Gaara, the Kazekage, stood with his arms over his chest and his trademark frown on his face. He had stayed after the wedding to visit his friends, and have diplomatic talks with the Hokage. When he had arrived that morning to ask about the large explosions he had heard last evening, he had noticed that the Hokage was almost as nervous as people he had once right before they fear. He could smell it exuding off of her. She had told him of Naruto's untimely disappearance, but Naruto went on a mission recently. He is going after the Akatsuki, the group that those 2 who attacked you a while back were from, in attempt to stop their attacks on him and his wife. While on it something happened. I don't have much information, but that explosion was his doing. Now no one knows where the hell he is, or if he is even alive. Naruto is alive. What? I can sense his chakra, but Tsunade wanted to hear the next part, but suddenly a frog appeared on her desk again. Gamakichi, but this time he didn't look like his cheerful self. Hey, old lady. Bad news, good news time. Naruto ain't That's the good news. The bad news is that he thinks Jiraiya, Shizune, Sakura and Hinata are He has gone pretty much insane. Jiraiya told me that he the entire city of sound. No survivors. None. And then he found Kisame, who is now but Jiraiya thinks Naruto picked up his scent and is following it. Right now, he told me to warn you that Naruto is heading in this general direction, and he is obviously not in his right mind. I mean, Jiraiya said that he totally the citizens of sound, not just shinobi, but women and children. This is not good. Gaara knew Naruto's Nindo. He also knew that it didn't include the merciless K of innocence. I think that would be an understatement, Lord Kazekage. More than you might think. If he is truly mad from grief of his wife, then he would be more dangerous to this city than any invasion. If he thinks that we are in his way, he will not hesitate to do to this village what was done to Sound. What should we do? Tsunade was about to call all ninja to arms when Gamakichi spoke up again. Well, Jiraiya said that he and his group are catching up to Naruto slowly. They don't think they will catch up before he reaches the city, though. If Naruto sees Hinata, he will probably snap out of it, no guarantee though. So we stall him, you. She addressed the Anbu guarding the door. Get Hatake Kakashi in here, now. And, get Shikamaru. And Temari. The Anbu were off to gather the people. 2 cages, 3 Jonin. Do you think it will be enough? No. But we will slow him down. He is going to be here within the hour. Where could Jiraiya be? Calm yourself, Lady Chuand. They can't get here any faster if you worry. Kakashi put away his book. He and the rest of the Jonin and Chunin in the city had helped gather the people in the tunnels underneath the city and seal them there. The reason why was a invasion drill, and most of the people bought it, seeing how they had suffered from invasions in the past. The only reason why they had stayed out was because they were the most likely people Naruto would recognize. Worrying is exactly what I plan on doing until everything goes back to normal. Nothing is going to go back to normal. Gaara spoke for the first time in the presence of the rest of the group. Naruto thinks he killed his wife, and even though that isn't true, he has now an entire hidden village. He is going to suffer for that, even if he manages to regain his sanity. Mindlessly, the guilt is enough to drive one to S. Naruto will not be the same person you knew when this is over. Everyone remained silent at that. Each knew instinctively that he was right, though each was hoping that Naruto would bounce back as he always seemed to be able to do. Shikamaru, Temari, Kakashi, when you see Naruto he probably won't look the same as he usually does. This is classified information and it does not travel anywhere else. Orochimaru attacked Naruto a while ago, inside the bee of Sasuke Uchiha, which you all know. Naruto killed him, but was forced to use the same jutsu the third and fourth used, on the reanimated sea of his father. Normally, this uses the soul of the user, but in this case, because Naruto contained the Kyuubi's soul, the death god only needed one and he had two. The Kyuubi gave Naruto all of his chakra and then his soul was taken, the Kyuubi. The chakra had an odd side effect. Naruto will resemble a nine-tailed fox when you see him. It is normally under a complex genjutsu I taught him. His tails and every part of him are so be very careful. Each person nodded, keeping their thoughts to themselves. Naruto came closer. Alright, check in. Iruka had taken it upon himself to lead the invasion drill. Tsunade had informed him a little on the situation. They had just finished sealing the entrances to the underground tunnels and were doing a final check to make sure everyone was in. The walls of these underground corridors were thick and hard. They also had seals etched into them. Sensei, why are there drawings on the walls? They were put there by the first Hokage when he made these tunnels. The seals are special so that no chakra escapes the walls. It makes it so no one can pick up the chakra signatures we make when we are in this tunnel. Oh, Iruka, we have a problem. What? 4 Chunin are missing. What? Who? Hinata could see her home. Close, too close, running all day had made them all tired. Hinata popped a soldier pill before continuing down the path Naruto had forged for himself through the forest. Please, Naruto, don't do anything you will regret later. Hinata remembered all of death she had seen in sound, caused by Naruto's hands. She could help him. I need to find him. They could all sense Naruto now, his chakra was flaring and hadn't stopped since the attack on sound. He is close. Hinata pumped as much chakra as she could into her legs. Behind her, the 3 other members of her team were either gasping for air or drained completely. They still ran, not just for Hinata and Naruto. The fate of Konoha might be at stake here. Hinata suddenly sensed something else, something not quite human. And it wasn't above ground. Jump. Instantly and without thinking, they all followed Hinata's example and jumped into the trees. Earth-style, ant-lion trap. A massive hole appeared in the earth, quickly expanding to create a pit of quicksand. In the center of the constantly expanding sand trap was what could only be described as a giant toothed mouth. Hinata looked inside of it with her Byakugan and saw the head of a man. But those jaws, they are also a part of his bee. The man jumped out and cancelled the jutsu, seeing how he wasn't going to get any of the shinobi. That is a dangerous jutsu, it would have gotten all of us in less than a second. We are here to make sure you do not interfere with the boss's plan. Sakura was surprised to see that only one side of his mouth spoke, as it was split down the middle with one half being white and the other black. You shall go no further. This time the black side of his face spoke. We will devour you and your souls. The giant flytrap-like man was forced to move as Shizune threw a swarm of needles at him. Sakura was charging with her fist ed. Go, Hinata and Jiraiya. We will take this weirdo. Sakura threw the punch at his face, only to gaze in awe as the trap shut and completely blocked her punch. He didn't even flinch. Naruto knew he was here. Where he was, he had no idea, but the smell ended here. He sniffed around the small clearing, finding where the scent disappeared to. He stopped at a large rock. Not big enough to be a boulder, just a rock in the ground. A perfectly ordinary rock. Naruto drew back his claws. Underneath, his hand the boulder into fragments. The boulder had been covering nothing. Naruto gave a small look of surprise at the lack of a hole or anything that would lead to where the smell was coming from. Once again, this time with even more rage, he struck the earth underneath the spot the boulder had been on. He didn't even need to touch the earth. The second his chakra touched the spot, a large stairway appeared under his feet, leading into darkness. Naruto smiled wickedly. First I kill the bastards in here, then I can leave to be with her. Naruto fingered the kunai that was still embedded in his shoulder. Yes, no reason except her. Now it is time to kill them. Naruto ignored the spiral staircase and jumped into the darkness. Lord Kazekage, I can't sense Naruto. Gaara nodded at Tsunade's statement. He could no longer sense his friend, either. Before any of them could react, Gaara leapt off of the city wall in a surprising display of agility for someone who never moves in battle and began running towards the point he had last sensed Naruto. The others quickly followed. What do you think you can do, little girls? The obviously insane Akatsuki member had just caught Sakura's most powerful punch in one hand. He says his name is Zetsu. How can he be so strong? He smiled wickedly on one half of his face, while the other remained impassive. I could kill you both right now, but I like to play with my food. He threw Sakura into Shizune, sending both crashing into a tree. The ninja began doing hand signs. Why don't you want to play? I never have any fun. Earth style, mud river. The ninja put out his hand as a gusher of mud sprang forth. It rushed at the nearly unconscious med ninjas, threatening to crush them into the forest of trees. Zetsu wasn't surprised to see both of the ninja turn out to be logs. Now you come out to play. He turned around to catch a poison needle in midair and fling it back. Shizune had barely a chance to gasp before rolling out of the way of her own needle. Sakura appeared on the opposite side of Zetsu and did a few hand signs. His hands began to glow blue. You might have a hard shell, but this will pierce it. She yelled out as she charged again, this time using clones to try to hide her real presence until it would be too late for Zetsu's organs and chakra system. He smirked at her attempt before sinking into the ground. What? Sakura looked around as Shizune came out of the bushes to join her. The instant Shizune was out in the open, Zetsu made his move. He suddenly appeared behind the experienced med nin. Sakura tried to yell out a warning as the massive jaws positioned themselves silently around Shizune's head. Hinata hoped her friends were able to handle the S-rank ninja. Jiraiya had stepped up the pace again. Trees seemed to blend together at their speed. There better not be anyone else in our way. We need to reach Naruto, now. Hinata had her Byakugan on, and that was the only thing that saved her. A massive, jagged ice crystal appeared in Hinata's way, and the only reason she didn't impale herself on it was because she had already changed directions. She continued to run at the Akatsuki robe-wearing ninja. Jiraiya ran up to the ninja with his hand extended. Rasengan. The Akatsuki member managed to jump out of his way, barely missing having a head removed. The hat dropped off in the process of jumping away, revealing an attractive woman with light blue hair. Jiraiya stopped and prepared to fight. Hinata, go to Naruto. I can take care of her. Besides, she would be excellent research for my next novel. Bastard. The woman charged Jiraiya, who positioned himself between Hinata and the ninja. Go. Hinata ran off, knowing that she was close. Wah. Sakura couldn't get anything out as the jaws quickly closed around Shizune's head. It was nearly closed when the Zetsu was sent flying by a massive chakra strike to his gut. 8 trigrams, 64 palms. A blur was all that could be seen, huge chakra waves coming out of Zetsu's back, 64 strikes. Zetsu was sent flying by the last hit. In midair he was met with a swarm of weapons the size of which he had never seen. Thousands of shuriken and kunai, as well as many other sharp and S-looking objects sped towards him, though they all looked like they would miss. His smirk at his enemy's bad accuracy suddenly turned into a look of shock. Konoha destroying whirlwind, Zetsu's face was suddenly in as a heavily weighted foot collided with his face, sending him into a tree and the waiting path of the weapons. He had only a second to try to sink into the tree, but the first needle struck him in his left eye. Losing concentration, he was soon impaled over every square inch of his bee. Zetsu had breathed his last. Team Guy had come to the rescue. The amazing hero was in a standoff with the amazingly beautiful woman. Their eyes met as they clashed. Each knew this could be their final moment in life, or maybe the beginning of a new one. Will you just shut up? Jiraiya had just barely gotten under the woman's skin, just barely. Their kunais clanged as they jumped into the air again, only to be met by the other in a stalemate. Oh, come on, you have to agree that this is excellent material for the next Ika Ika novel. Come on, admit it. Now if you just surrendered, then maybe I could show you how the rest of the story goes. Shut up, L. You're almost 60. I am only 55. They clashed again. This time the enraged female managed to push Jiraiya back and into the dirt. Water style, 10,000 ice needles. The air around Jiraiya was suddenly filled with needles of ice. Jiraiya's bee disappeared, revealing a log. Damn you, old man. I told you, I am not that old. We could still have a relationship. Age doesn't matter to me. Jiraiya came out of the trees with a hurt look on his face. Shut up, you annoying hermit. She had finally prepared the finishing blow. After scattering water around the area with her last attacks, she was ready. It took too much chakra if she created ice directly. Now you will water style, frozen decapitation. Jiraiya was suddenly out of ideas. Around him, and all over the area, thousands of swords had formed. Each floated in midair, beautiful as only ice could be, but controlled by the Ice Maiden of the Akatsuki. The setting sunlight shone through the blades, sending rainbows across the clearing. It was a beautiful place to Jiraiya was suddenly regretting going easy on the Akatsuki member. He was out of plans or even witty remarks. Come now, you know it never would have worked out between us. Now be a good old L and just Swords came flying at Jiraiya, who held his kunai, ready to fight to the last. He blocked one, then another. Their blades were locked and Jiraiya could only stare as a third blade came at his end. He closed his eyes, ready for the end. I am sorry, Naruto. When nothing happened for seconds, Jiraiya risked a peek at what should have been his death. Nothing, all of the swords were gone. Jiraiya managed to hold in his vomit as he stared at the bee of his opponent. It was gruesome. The head was mostly gone, the stomach had holes in it, and the bugs. Shino appeared in front of the Sennin. She is I came to help. We all felt Naruto and then they had us do an invasion drill. My insects have not had this kind of feast in a long time. Thank you for saving her for me. No problem. Hinata had made it to what appeared to be a staircase leading into the depths of the earth. Naruto, I am coming. Wait for me. Hinata, wait. Hinata had been about to follow Naruto down through the hole in the ground when she heard her name being called from the direction of Konoha. She spotted the Kazekage, followed closely by the Hokage, Shikamaru, and Temari. They all came to a stop next to her, which was when Kakashi appeared next to her in a puff of smoke. Hinata, report. Yes, Hokage. I followed Naruto till his presence disappeared here. I assume he went down the stairs. Those walls seem familiar. Kakashi had pocketed his book, and was examining the walls of the staircase with his Sharingan revealed. They are covered in the same type of seals that the underground tunnels are. This was made to block all chakra from escaping, so it is no wonder we can't sense Naruto anymore. Please, Hokage. We are losing Naruto. Here, Gaara had coated the ground in his sand and was now lifting everyone down the deep shaft in the earth on a sand platform. Where are the others, Hinata? Shikamaru knew that they would need every ounce of manpower to stand a chance against a possibly insane Naruto, let alone any other Akatsuki they might find. Sakura and Shizune stopped to fight a member of the Akatsuki with a large thing on his head. Jiraiya is fighting a blue-haired lady. Zetsu, but I haven't heard of a woman in the Akatsuki. It doesn't matter what they are doing. They are not here, so that makes us in a tighter spot than before. They are probably going to get here too late. Temari is right, but we still have a chance to stop Naruto from destroying Konoha if he recognizes Hinata. Destroys Konoha. But how? We are probably a quarter-kilometer underground now. And we don't even know if this is going to lead towards Konoha. Shikamaru sighed. It looked like he would need to explain everything. These seals, they were made many years ago. The stairs are falling apart in most places. This is an extension to the evacuation tunnels under Konoha. It makes sense, being that this is on the opposite side of Konoha from most of our past enemies. The tunnels are pretty much the exact same as these. This was just an unrecorded extension that the first probably never had a chance to finish before his untimely death. I know it will go under Konoha, because we touched the bottom a few seconds ago and the doorway is right behind you. Now follow Gaara, before we lose him. Shikamaru calmly walked with his hands in his pockets between the startled Temari and Tsunade. Hinata was already directly behind the Kazekage, followed by Kakashi and the now running Shikamaru. That is one sharp kid. Yeah, why do you think I am dating him? The two ran after the rest of the group. Team Guy, Sakura and Shizune arrived just in time to watch Shino's insects devour the rest of the sea more edible parts. Ten held back a retch as the insects crawled away from the skeletal remains of what should have been a human. Jiraiya, where is Hinata? Sakura ran up to help the aged man to his feet. His face was white. What? Oh, yeah. She went after Naruto. Come on. And Shino. Yes. Don't ever do that again unless I am not around. Naruto was rushing down the abnormally wide corridors, finding many large caverns, but always finding another doorway at the back of the last. If he had been in his right mind, he would have been intrigued by the seals surround him on the walls. He also might have been wondering how he could even see, when there was no source of light in the entire place. He ran on all fours, now, with his tails whipping behind him at an increased speed. He could almost taste the presence of the person he was drawing closer to. I am coming. I hope that you are ready to S. Then I can finally be at peace. Naruto finally arrived at his destination. He entered into a cavern easily the size of half of Konoha. The center of the large and mostly empty area held the only interesting landmark. A huge statue, grotesque in appearance, stood in the direct middle. Naruto wasn't even fazed as he ran towards the enormous statue. It appeared to be a half-buried statue of a nine-eyed monster. Two enormous hands came out of the ground in front of the bee, each finger wide enough to have three people stand side by side on it. The hands stretched outwards, as if attempting to grasp some imaginary thing in front of the nine eyes. If he had bothered to look closer at the bee, he would have seen that it went from the shoulders of the monster to the head. It was likely over 100 feet tall. The head appeared to be nothing more than 9 eyes, no mouth or nose. The statue was covered in slips of paper reading, seal. Also, many seals had been carved into the actual bee of the mammoth statue. Naruto didn't care about any of that. He saw his prey. Sitting on top of the giant statue's head was one man, covered in shadow. Naruto stopped moving after he had climbed up one of the hands and gathered himself to pounce. The person stood up and opened his eyes. They revealed themselves to be made of many rings of various colors. I guess that you are the Kyuubi container, yet the Kyuubi isn't in you anymore, Naruto smirked, speaking for the first time since seeing his wife's charred sea. It wasn't his normal voice, it sounded as demonic as he appeared. Fool, I am the Kyuubi. Gaara stopped at the entrance to the next cavern. Standing in the middle of the medium-sized area was another Akatsuki member. Hinata almost s into his back, as did the rest of the team. The Akatsuki removed his hat to reveal the face of an almost beautiful red-haired man about Gaara's age. You are Sasori of the sand. And you must be Gaara of the desert. I have heard of you. UK Deodara and Kakazu with the help of the Kyuubi's container. You, yourself, are a demon container. The one-tailed tanuki, Shukaku, if I am correct. I am sorry that I cannot let you pass, Lord Kazekage. Maybe you would enjoy it if I had you met one of your predecessors. You could spend all the time you needed to discuss your life. Well, all the time you have left. Gaara didn't even change facial expressions as a puppet of the third Kazekage appeared next to the puppet master. Go. Hinata looked at Gaara. I said go, I will destroy this traitor to my village. It is my duty to Suna and to the previous Kazekages. Gaara walked forward as his gourd disintegrated into sand. Hinata and the rest ran around to the side, leaving Gaara facing off with the puppets. I am sorry, but you all really must stay. You don't have a choice, you will stay here. S or soon to be S. Sasori sent the third to intercept the running shinobi. It had pulled out two wicked-looking blades, poisoned from what Tsunade could tell, and was about to attack Hinata from behind when it collided with a wall of sand. Your battle is with me, traitor. Gaara held out his hand towards the puppet. Sand pushed it away from his comrades, leaving them the opening they needed to get through. As they passed through the arch into the next corridor, Tsunade threw a piece of paper onto the wall. A small seal can't stop me, what? Sasori had put his hands into the sign to release the seal, only to find that it was no ordinary seal. It was simple enough to dispel, but no matter what he did, it would take exactly 30 seconds. It wasn't meant to be hard, just time-consuming. Gaara had known exactly what was going on the second that the seal didn't disappear instantly. Concentrate on me. Gaara held his puppet of the third in his sand's grasp. He clenched his fist, destroying the puppet and crushing it into tiny pieces. All of the needles and weapons contained in the puppet fell to the ground, useless. Sasori was angry. He had failed the boss and had allowed people past him. Fool. You would think a Kazekage would know better than to take me on alone. Your puppets are useless against my sand. Gaara moved his sand around him, preparing for his next assault. Sasori sneered at the unmoving and unflinching Kazekage. He removed a scroll and released 2 puppets. Each was a perfect replica of Sasori himself. Gaara understood. You are also a puppet. Sasori managed to contain his surprise at Gaara's deduction. That was not something he wanted to reveal to this very capable opponent. Very well, then you will be crushed also. Just try. Gaara called up a massive amount of sand from around his feet before sending it streaking towards the fabled puppet master. All 3 went flying away, sprouting metal wings from their backs. The wings folded to their sides and began to spin like saw blades. The 3 Sasoris flew faster than Gaara's huge amount of sand could follow. One came into Gaara in half, but found out the hard way that Gaara's sand defense, honed and perfected over his entire life, was much better than anticipated. The blades were immediately stopped by Gaara's sand, inches from his face. The sand crept up the trapped puppet before coating it completely in sand. Gaara used the ball of sand to crush the puppet. When he released the sand, the pieces of the puppet fell, revealing that it hadn't been the real Sasori. Gaara hadn't even moved the entire time, but his steadfastness was his demise. 2 more Sasoris came at him from different angles, and while one was being covered by the sand, the other used a blade that came out of its wrist to see Gaara's head in half. Fool. Sasori didn't even pay attention to his other puppet as he focused on the seal again. He was almost done with it when he realized that his feet were covered in sand. What the hell? Gaara appeared out of the ground, shedding sand as he rose. Sasori looked to where his lifeless bee should have been. It was dissolving into sand. His other puppet had already been crushed. Sasori grinned at Gaara, an innocent grin that a boy caught stealing cookies would give to an elder brother or sister. So you got me. Gaara's sand covered his entire lower bee and held his arms in place. If he had wanted to move, he couldn't anymore. Gaara's sand felt around his upper bee, as if looking for something. No. He can't know about it. How the hell could have figured it out? Sasori began struggling at the sand. Gaara's sand stopped over his left bee. You really should try harder to keep your chakra source disguised. Especially when it is in only one point in your entire bee. Now, if I am correct, this is your heart. Gaara made a fist with one hand as Sasori's puppet bee screamed in pain. Suddenly the puppet went limp. Gaara took no chances. He had learned early on that expert shinobi could stop their hearts for short periods of time. And could possibly escape a half-hearted sand tomb. Gaara's sand covered the bee completely. Desert funeral. Gaara clenched both fists at the large pile of sand. It visibly contracted to almost half of its original size. Gaara held it there for almost 10 minutes, pouring more and more chakra into making sure that every part of the puppet's bee was broken down into the size of dust specks. Gaara. Gaara turned to see Rock Lee run up, followed by a large group of shinobi. Gaara, how are you? Are you following Naruto, too? What is in that pile of sand over there? Did you just have a fight? Are you okay? Where? Lee was forced to stop when Neji smacked him upside the head. Sakura took over for her boyfriend, who was on the ground rubbing his head and injured pride. Gaara, where are the others? Up ahead, go. Gaara used the last of his chakra to unseal the next corridor. Gaara knelt on the ground after that, still emotionless, but gave a small grunt of exhaustion. Shizune knelt next to him. I can stay with Gaara, everyone else go. Jiraiya led, followed closely by Sakura and Lee as they entered the next doorway. Pain had jumped down to the other hand and Naruto prepared to K. So, Kyuubi, you finally overpowered your container. No, the container became the Kyuubi, not the other way around. Are you the leader of the Akatsuki? Really? So the Kyuubi is S? No, it is reborn. Are you the one who hired all of those thugs to come after me? Yes. Good. Then I will finally be able to K you. Naruto jumped towards the other hand, chakra blazing around his B. Pain jumped towards him, also. They met halfway and clashed. They each landed on the opposite hand then where they had started. Naruto looked down at his side, which now had a gash in it that looked like it had come from a wind jutsu. Pain turned to face the tailed ninja with wind surrounding a kunai. You didn't use any seals. And you call me the fool. Do my eyes look normal? I have a Kekkei Genkai that allows me to use ninjutsu without the use of words or signs. Not like it even matters. I will K you here. You can't even imagine the power I have, and now that I have nothing to live for I won't hold anything back. Not even your little wife. I heard you were wed recently. I K her, you bastard. She S when I was K your thugs. You were going to S for that. It doesn't really matter. She couldn't love a demon, like you. It was all a plan by the fourth Hokage. He put that fox inside of you for the same reason that all demons were put into humans. What? You were born to be a human weapon. And when you became unstable and were no longer able to fight in battle for fear of losing your mind to the demon inside, at an early age as all vessels do, you would be told to breed. Clans and villages that are always attempting to gain in power, how do you think the Kekkei Genkai were created? All that they are the remains of demon B flowing in the veins of the remains of families that once had a demon vessel in their family tree. It is better off that both you and her S, before another curse on the human B was created. Did you just say that it was better for everyone that Hinata S? Naruto's voice was low as he turned away from the leader of the Akatsuki. Yes. Well, do you know something, bastard? It wasn't better for her or me. You don't think we were in love? I will prove it by KU to fulfill the first promise I ever made to her and the last promise I made over her lifeless sea. Chakra started pouring out of Naruto, covering his entire B in a coating of B-red chakra to match his B-stained clothes and tails. He stared into Pain's eyes before lifting a fist out towards him, with B-red chakra almost dripping from his fingers. I vow to win. Naruto couldn't remember the last time he felt this way. It was anger, hate, sadness, despair, and every negative emotion he had ever felt all in one. He had never felt this way before. Ever. Or, at least that as far as he could remember. Only one memory ran through his head when he least expected or wanted it. Her charred B. Naruto faltered, fist in the air. Seconds ago he had been ready to rip the heart out of the man in front of him. Now, part of him just wanted to S now and not wait until his opponent was S. After all, it was I who, he froze up, and Pain used this to his advantage. If you won't fight me, then you will surely S. Pain jumped from the statue's great hand and onto the hand Naruto stood on. Pain then backhanded him off of the hand and into the wall behind him. It was a distance of almost a half of a kilometer. Naruto S into the wall and slid down, perfectly fine in B but still unmoving. I swore to win. But in K her, I have already lost. There is no winning today. Pain appeared in front of him as he leaned against the wall. The blade came rushing forward, still with Naruto not making a move. Where is the power I felt moments ago? Pain's blade came within centimeters of Naruto's chest, ready to pierce his heart. Suddenly, Naruto's hand shot up and pierced itself on the blade, directing it into a less fatal area of his shoulder. Now his right hand was pinned against his left shoulder. Pain was slightly surprised at the speed it traveled, though he knew it was only about as fast as his own speed. He was the fastest ninja to ever live, most likely. Naruto's left hand came up to the blade of the sword. He gripped it slightly, not even looking up from the ground, which he had been staring at since landing. No winning today. No, not without her. His voice had calmed down a slight bit, which pleased Pain a little. But what came next was as frightening as, he couldn't even remember something as frightening. It was a K intent, but not just any K intent. Pain was probably the most powerful ninja in the world and his hands and knees were shaking. It wasn't human. It was demonic. Naruto's head slowly came up from its place on his chest. His facial expression contained what could only be described as lust. It had been a lesser ninja, Naruto's opponent would have likely passed out or of heart failure. The idea was that death, as undesirable as it may be, would have been seemed like the better of two choices. Either stay, with death staring you in the face, or go out the only way possible. But even if winning is out of the question, you will A chakra surge from Naruto threw Pain back towards the statue, leaving the sword pinning Naruto to the wall. I will KO you with only this one hand. Naruto stood up, ripping the katana from the wall in the process, leaving it in his shoulder next to the kunai he had put there himself. Naruto's bi was covered once again in the chakra that reminded Pain of bi. It oozed off of his bi like a thick liquid, disappearing as it fell. Pain was already on his feet. So now you decide to fight. Fine. A large pillar of earth came from the ground in front of Naruto, him against the wall again, this time burying him 3 meters into the rock. Too bad you can't even be called a fight. The pillar exploded. From the smoke Pain sensed, less than saw, a figure emerge and head towards him. He raised a kunai just in time to block a strike to his end from a claw. Naruto still stood. No, this is no fight. It will be AS. Naruto pushed on Pain suddenly, throwing him into the air and the rest of the way back to the statue. This time, Naruto followed. Pain recovered, seeing Naruto charging him. He only had seconds, even thought Naruto was almost half a kilometer away. Suddenly, massive geysers of boiling water exploded in Naruto's way. He wasn't even phased as he ran in between the gushing water that would have burned even a demon badly. A wall of intense flames rose in his way, only to have Naruto run through it. Pain summoned another katana, giving him better reach than the demon's claws. He froze for a second before pushing his chakra into every muscle in his bi. The leader of the Akatsuki was ready to play. They met in a clashing of blades and claws. Naruto tried to push Pain back again, but this time it was an even match of strength. Subconsciously, Naruto knew what Pain was doing, but he didn't care. His attacks were wild and unpredictable, Pain was barely able to block, let alone attack. Naruto smiled a smile that chilled Pain to his core. Pain sensed what Naruto was about to do and summoned another katana in his free hand. Naruto was bringing his tails into play. Now that he had slipped into the mindset of the demon he had become, he knew how to use his tails to the fullest. Tail after tail, surrounded by chakra, sharp as any sword, longer than any spear, and as flexible as whips, flew at Pain even as he blocked Naruto's claw. But the leader of the most powerful group in the world was not about to be outclassed. He poured even more chakra into his bi, glowing from the overflowing energy, and sped up to the point where his arms were a blur, blocking every attack Naruto threw at him. His eyes grew wide when he saw that one tail was not attacking but instead was charging up a large blue ball of chakra. Rasengan. Pain jumped out of the way as the tail struck down towards him. The explosion knocked him into the statue's main bi, though he immediately was ready to continue the fight. You aren't fighting at all. What? You are just randomly swinging around in a rage, there is no way you can beat me like that, I will show you what power really is. Pain charged Naruto, this time even faster. His 2 katanas seemed to disappear as his arms moved with enough speed to blur in even Naruto's vision. 2 tails managed to block each katana, but his attack was not just a simple one-hit wonder of speed. They kept coming. Pain was forcing Naruto back, his swords moving so fast every tail on Naruto was busy blocking because the power of the strikes would take 2 tails to block and even his tails couldn't move fast enough to block every hit. Naruto had his left hand free, so he began to do one-handed seals in an attempt to use his time jutsu. No, you don't get to use jutsu. A pillar of earth in the shape of a fist rose to punch Naruto in the gut, sending him flying. That would be cheating. Pain was flying next to him, still attacking. Naruto began to regain some sense of mentality in his rage-filled mind. Pain had no idea that his attacks were forcing Naruto to think once again. Naruto remembered his training. He began to channel the chakra flowing around his bi into a more useful area than around him. His muscles grew from the energy given. He landed and used 2 tails to wrap around the katana. Pain went wide-eyed as he saw an intelligence in Naruto's eyes that hadn't been there a moment ago. Naruto had 2 tails behind him with Rasengan on them. He did a quick hand seal, one he hadn't had to use in a long time. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Suddenly 5 more demons appeared alongside Naruto, each with 2 Razengans on their tails. The shadow clones all pulled the katana out of their shoulders and smirked at Pain. I don't think you have any choice in the matter of what I do, bastard. Naruto threw his Rasengan at Pain, forcing him to release his katana and jump. 2 more Narutos came at him, each with a Rasengan aimed at him. Earthen walls rose up to either side of him, blocking the clones for a moment before the walls exploded into fragments of rock and dirt. They burst from the flying rubble with the second Rasengan aimed at him, only to be shocked when the 2 Rasengans caused Pain to disappear into smoke. The real Pain was running back towards the real Naruto, who was merely staring in awe at his 2 clones. When the 2 Rasengans collided, the entire area filled with winds strong enough to tear up earth and rock. The winds didn't s down for what seemed like minutes. Pain, Naruto, and all of Naruto's clones were blown back into the walls with enough force to cause both ninjas to cough up B and disperse the clones. Pain was now on the opposite side of the area from Naruto. He managed to heal his broken ribs with a quick jutsu, but he knew that the pain wouldn't go away until he had time to pay more attention to it. Naruto felt his demon B setting the bones back into place. His eyes were still red, but the battle had forced his rational self into existence again. I can't let that happen. I used to be smarter than this. I was a battle expert. I was going to be Hokage. I was going to, damn. Naruto stood up, this time with his brain turned on. For her sake I will not let him get away. So, it looks like you have finally decided to give up. No, I gave up when I saw my wife's SB. So, you are accepting defeat. No, I am going to K you. Why do you make me repeat myself over and over? I have told you so many times already. You are going to S. Well, of course I am going to S. Everyone S, Naruto. Even people you love S, they just S faster when you fail to protect them. Bastard. I didn't K your wife, Naruto. You did. I know that. I know I K her. I have no reason or will to live anymore. But I swear that you, the one who was the cause behind her death, will perish before I do. I do not see that happening. How are you going to stop me? Oh, the same way that you stopped Gaara of the desert from KU back in the day. The same way you were able to defeat Zabuza, the demon of the mist, all those years ago. The same thing that you used when you attempted to recapture your deceased friend at the Valley of the End. Pain began to glow more, this time with a sickly green glow instead of the regular blue. He stared across the distance at Naruto, a tiny speck in the distance, directly into his eyes. You weren't the only one, with a demon inside of you, Naruto. Hinata and the rest of the group had been about to enter a massive chamber from what they could see when they had all been blown back up the passageway by tremendous winds. Soon it had been knocked unconscious with most everyone in the group. Hinata had been thrown directly into the Hokage's stomach, which was probably the reason the Hokage was not conscious and Hinata was. She managed to get up from the disorienting fall and lean against the wall, using chakra on her hands and feet to hold her if another wind like it came up. That must be Naruto. The wind was so strong. If he is already fighting, then we need to help him. She looked back at her unconscious friends. I could leave them here and get to Naruto myself. Those who abandon their comrades are less than trash. Hinata shook her head at the memory of her husband's phrase. No, I need to help them first, or I might be not enough to stop him and help him. Hinata rushed to the Hokage's side and began doing first aid jutsus. Naruto was hanging on, but just barely. Pain had unleashed some sort of monster. The chakra around him was almost disgusting in color and presence, but frightening at the same time. 4 large tails of chakra had sprouted from his back. That explains why he seems to be adept at most elements. He is a demon container. The 4-tailed demon. Naruto was ready. Foolish boy. You fought on even terms with us before, and now we have more than 10 times the power we had then. You still think you can defeat me? I don't need to defeat you, demon. I just need to defeat Pain. Naruto was attacking. He charged across the open field of battle towards Pain. Once your container is S, then you have no chance. I might have only become QB a short time ago, but 9 is greater than 4 any day. Naruto hid his one arm behind his back. Pain smiled. He must be charging up a Rasengan. We are faster than that. Pain charged also, but much faster than Naruto. They met in the middle. Naruto pulled his arm out from behind his back to show nothing. It was just a hand sign. No US. Naruto pulled the katana from his shoulder as time slowed to a stop. Pain had a look in his eyes that showed incomprehension. He must have not heard of me learning this technique. Naruto see off one of Pain's arms. Then he see the T of the ninja. He then drew the sword across Pain's chest. Finally, he removed the ninja's other arm. Time began to speed up once again. Pain stopped where he was, with Naruto now behind him, both arms free and Pain's katana in his left hand. In his right hand was a wind-style Rasengan. Naruto knew that using the wind-style Rasengan at this power would probably break every bone in his arm, and maybe deplete every cell of chakra, but he could probably recover. Pain would most likely, and then he wouldn't even need to recover from it. Naruto suddenly felt a massive chakra surge from behind him, where Pain should have been wallowing in his own bi. He turned to see the arms of the ninja rise up from the ground and reattach themselves to his shoulders. The C on his bi healed, the bi all that remained of his wounds. Pain turned to face Naruto. Naruto wasn't surprised. He wasn't startled. Naruto was angry. He was angry that he hadn't finished him off when he had the chance. So, you still survive. Naruto started the hand signs again. I guess I will need to completely destroy your bi, then. Pain didn't talk anymore. Naruto could sense something different about him. You aren't Pain, are you? No, I am not. Pain is out right now. I am in control. The thing that had once been Pain charged Naruto with such speed Naruto couldn't even finish the last sign he needed before he was forced to block 4 chakra tails and 2 fists. Naruto had never fought another person with tails, so it was perfectly understandable when one slipped under his defense and him into the base of the statue's hand. Naruto was immediately on all fours, ready to fight beast to beast. Pain charged at the same time Naruto did. Naruto jumped over him and blocked the 4 tails of chakra with his tails. When he landed, he didn't face his enemy. He merely used his senses to use all 9 of his tails to his own advantage. All of them flailed around, blocking and attempting to hit the 4-tailed demon. Naruto felt him jump. He smiled. Hell's wind. Pain's eyes opened up as he flew over Naruto. Naruto was holding a large orb of fire and wind. He aimed it at Pain. US now, bastard. The orb seemed to collapse in on itself before sending a stream of superheated air and fire directly into Pain. Hinata had managed to wake the Hokage and then Sakura. The rest had all come around quickly after that. They were now at the doorway that they had been blown back from. Hinata ran forward into the massive chamber. Naruto stood with his back to her and the rest of the group, firing a stream of intense flames directly into and through some things bi. Hinata stared as the bi turned to dust as it fell towards the ground, leaving a weird chakra seemingly standing on its own. Everyone was able to hear the voice that came from it. Free. Finally I have been freed. I would thank you, QB, but it would be pointless when I K you. No, I don't care about you. I only needed to K him. So now, Naruto rushed the chakra and grabbed it. Everyone behind Hinata gasped as Naruto lifted the chakra above his head and threw it into the statue using his tails. The chakra was about to touch the statue when it was suddenly absorbed. A 4th eye opened on the statue. Naruto sunk to his knees. Finally, now I can Naruto removed the kunai from his shoulder. It almost feels like she is right here. Naruto smiled his first real smile in days. I guess I will finally be able to go see her. He placed the kunai over his heart. Naruto. What is that? It can't. Naruto was suddenly wrapped up from behind in an embrace he would know forever. His eyes instantly became blue again. His bi returned to its normal color and shape. He used a tail to pick up the person behind him and bring her around to his front. He lowered her to the ground. He just stared. Naruto, are you okay? Hi, Nata, how, what? Naruto was suddenly being K by his wife. The rest of the ninjas stayed back at the entrance, most stunned by Naruto's appearance, the rest just not wanting to interrupt his reunion with his wife. Naruto's lips were busy for minutes before he finally was able to speak again. Hinata, though you were. We hid under the rocks, those bi weren't ours. Then, those bi, the people in sound. Naruto, I still love you. Naruto embraced his wife even more. The rest of the ninja waiting at the entry all sighed, expecting more of a fight. It was Gaara, just walking into the cavern, who saw it. Watch out. Gaara had never raised his voice. Ever. Naruto managed to look over his shoulder towards his friend. Instantly, he felt a blade pass through his lung and going completely through his B. He turned to find Hinata's eyes glazed over and the hilt of a katana sticking out of her back. What? Hinata. He pulled the blade out of her back and laid her on the ground. Hinata. 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 Naruto clutched the lifeless bee of his wife to his own. Tears streamed down his face as he held the unresponsive bee of his loved one. He heard laughter in the distance. It was coming from the top of the statue. It was coming from a man with a mask over half of his head. As he removed it, everyone except Naruto gasped. It looked exactly like Itachi and Sasuke. I am glad you pain for me, Naruto. He was getting out of hand recently. Quote. Nothing to say. I just the woman you loved and you can't even speak. Quote. You are pathetic. You probably want to curl up and don't you? You thought she was even though she wasn't, and then when she comes back she again, for real. Isn't it laughable, your pathetic human emotions? The only ones of any worth are anger and hate. They are what have let me live all these years. For hundreds of years I have strived to gain complete immortality. I knew only one race of creatures that could live forever. Demons. I knew that it was possible to create something capable of capturing demons and then eventually transferring them to myself. I created the Akatsuki for this purpose. I now have the 1 tail, the 2 tail, the 3 tail, and the 4 tail. Do you understand what that means? If I absorb the chakra of these 4 demons, then I will have 10 tails. More than any other demon in the universe. More than you. Once you are out of my way, there will be nothing to stop me from destroying the earth or conquering it and subjecting all life unto myself. I will be immortal in my hatred and anger. No, you won't. Naruto stood up. His bee had once again become that of a demon. His tails and eyes were once again the color of bee. You will and that is all. A tear dropped from his eye onto Hinata's face. Immortality. That is what you want. Well, I have it. But there is no life at all without Hinata. So now I am going to kill you, in my own hatred, in my own anger, and in revenge for Hinata. I will kill you. Naruto's wounds had all healed. He was facing the man on the statue. Madara Uchiha. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.